Hi, I'm Phil Constantine. On this episode of Travels with Phil, we will be going to the Topaz Internment Camp in Utah. Between 1942 and 45, it was the home to over 8,000 Japanese Americans, most of whom were U.S. citizens. It was created because of the government's fear of the loyalty of the 120,000 Japanese Americans on the West Coast. According to a plaque at what remains at the Topaz Camp, these people were uprooted from their homes and incarcerated by their own government. Topaz was only one of 10 such camps during World War II. These fears proved to be unfounded, as not a single case of espionage is ever discovered. If you'd like to learn more about these camps other than what is presented in this video, please check out the information and the links in the description section down at the bottom of this page. Before I talk about Topaz, though, let me give you some background on what led to these actions. On December 7, 1941, military forces of the Japanese Empire initiated a sneak attack on U.S. military bases in Hawaii and especially at Pearl Harbor. 4 battleships were sunk and 4 were damaged by dive bombers and torpedo planes. Hickam and Wheeler Fields were also bombed, destroying many of the U.S. aircraft. These are actual movies taken by Japanese pilots attacking Hickam Field. Now, during the attacks, 2,403 U.S. military personnel and civilians were killed. You can see here the Arizona burning and several of the battleships in Battleship Row on fire due to the bombs. This is Japanese commentary on the attack. On December 8, 1941, the next day, President Franklin Roosevelt goes before a joint session of Congress to declare war on Japan.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. And initially up there it said world history, so they changed that.
As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense, but always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
2 months later, Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. This order authorized the forced removal of all persons deemed a threat to national security from the West Coast to relocation centers located further inland. This amounted to over 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry, over 2/3 of which were American citizens. They were sent to 10 location centers, one of which was Topaz.
Evacuation. More than 100,000 men, women, and children, all of Japanese ancestry, removed from their homes in the Pacific Coast states. Lands that had never been occupied or farmed were chosen for most of the relocation centers. Most of the land was covered with desert growth, or with timber in the case of the Arkansas centers. It had to be cleared before farming could start. California, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, and Arkansas. The relocation centers are supervised by the War Relocation Authority, which assumed responsibility for the people after they had been evacuated and cared for temporarily by the Army. A relocation center, housing from 7,000 to 18,000 people. Barrack-type buildings divided into compartments. Each family, upon arrival at a relocation center, was assigned to a single-room compartment, about 20 by 25 feet. Barren, unattractive. A stove, a light bulb, cots, mattresses, and blankets. Those were the things provided by the government.
So let's take a look at Topaz. Heading up from Salt Lake City, you go south on Interstate 15 until you get to Nephi, cut across to the southwest on 162 and then to Highway 6 into the small town of Delta. On Main Street in Delta, you can find the Topaz Museum there. You can get locations to the Topaz site. Fairly easy, though. You go to West 4500 North Street. It is a farming area. It's a small community, but fairly simple directions to get out there. As you can see on the map here, just hit pause. And what you're seeing coming into the left-hand part of your screen up there, this is what Topaz looks like from overhead. These are the remains of the Topaz War Relocation Center. There are a few memorial plaques and some building foundations still there. Taking a look around, these are some of my photos from the scene. Those are the plaques and a flag. Somebody wrote the name Topaz in barbed wire. There were barbed wire fences all around the facility. This is one of the armed guards at Topaz. A little bit of the loading areas there that are still left when I was there a few years back, and you can see some signs out there that tell you where the main structures were. But you got to realize this was 8,000 and maybe as many as 11,000 people went through there at one time or another. There's not a lot left, a lot to see, but it's important to remember what happened here and that these people were placed here. Jack Sua, Barney Miller, and Flower Drum Song fame lived here. After convincing the military they were loyal, many men joined the Army and became part of the 442nd. It is remembered as the most decorated unit for its size and length of service in the entire history of the United States military. The unit, which had about 18,000 men, received over 4,000 Purple Hearts, 4,000 Bronze Stars, 560 Silver Stars, and 21 Medals of Honor, and 7 Presidential Unit citations. The camps were surrounded by barbed wire and armed guards. The residents tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but all activities had to be approved by camp administrators. They were not allowed to leave the camp without permission, and those rare occasions were usually for special work projects done under supervision. Some students, though, were allowed to go to school in the eastern part of the USA. Since most of the residents had previously been involved in agricultural occupations, some residents were hired out to local farmers to do such things as growing or harvesting crops. Children had school. Boy Scout groups were established in many camps. According to the Topaz Museum, once at Topaz, Incarcerees were hired to work at the camp. Pay ranged from $14 a month for secretaries and janitors to $19 per month for professionals, including medical doctors. People could leave Topaz and go further east away to the west coast if they had a job or were admitted to school. They could not return to California until January 1945. If people answered no to 2 questions on the loyalty questionnaire, they were sent to the segregated camp, Tule Lake, and threatened with deportation to Japan. Wording: was an evacuation or forced removal, internment or incarceration, internment camps or concentration camps.
We gather here today to right a grave wrong. More than 40 years ago, shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, 120,000 persons of Japanese ancestry living in the United States were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in makeshift internment camps. This action was taken without trial, without jury. It was based solely on race, for these 120,000 were Americans of Japanese descent. Yes, the nation was then at war, struggling for its survival, and it's not for us today to pass judgment upon those who may have made mistakes while engaged in that great struggle. Yet we must recognize that the internment of Japanese Americans was just that, a mistake. For throughout the war, Japanese Americans in the tens of thousands remained utterly loyal to the United States.
Topaz can easily be seen from commercial aircraft flying between Las Vegas and Salt Lake City. There's a lot to see in the area. Delta's an interesting little town. There are all kinds of rock hounding you can do at Topaz Mountain, Sunstone Knoll, and lots of other interesting sites in the area. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right-hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.